Don't touch that dial. This is John Gallagher from Raven, and you are listening to Talking About Rock.
All right, today's guest hails from Newcastle Upton in northeast England. Raven and the Gallagher brothers cut their teeth playing the pubs and clubs until solidifying their lineup in the 80s with drummer Rob Hunter. The trio went on to release three of the most influential metal albums of the new wave of British heavy metal and are considered to be an influence and inspiration on the development of the thrash metal genre. Here to chat with us about their latest EP, Can't Take Away the Fire, let's welcome John Gallagher. John, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Good to be here, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you here. So this is the follow-up to All Hell is Breaking Loose. Tell us a little bit about putting this together here. It's been a little bit.
Well, we toured hard on the album, All Hell's Breaking Loose, and we were ready to start work on the follow-up, and Mike O'Heller, our drummer, moved from Los Angeles to Texas, and which necessitated him starting to build a brand new studio. So we knew this was going to take some time, so we figured an interim stopgap, let's get in and do some music before this gets underway. An EP, and of course, with the way record companies are these days, an EP is like the worst idea in the world. It's like, why would we make a CD? And it's basically an album in everything but the number of tracks on it.
Right.
So they wanted extra tracks, so we said, okay, we'll put a historical 3 different live tracks on. So it's basically an album in everything but name. But we wanted the 5 brand new songs out there, and it's just a great pointer as to where we're going with the next actual full studio album, which we hope to be recording in a couple of months here, like July, August.
Excellent. And you guys, you stick to a certain formula when you're writing your songs or music, or do you like to try different things?
Well, we do mix it up. I mean, there's kind of a formula is just as far as how they're written and worked on, and someone will have an idea and usually bounce it off somebody else. For example, I'll come up with something like, it was a bit more off the wall. The wreckage came from a finger picking exercise I was playing on guitar, and I just figured this might sound really good if it was done loud and split, so the bass played the bass part, as it were, and the guitar played the melody, and there was space for a really strong vocal melody. And I had this sketch, and the guys were like, wow, that's different. Let's work on this. And you have that, 3 heads are better than one. Everyone chips in with, is this good enough? Could this be better? I don't like that. Maybe we could try this instead, type of thing. And eventually the piece gets elevated to somewhere, a little bigger and better than when you started with it. So that was, that kind of process happened with all the songs and happens pretty much with everything we've done over the last 3 or 4 albums. We came up with that, let's not just, bang it together, boom, 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 sounds pretty good to me, let's go, let's pull back, give it a bit of perspective, and could it be better? And really be hard on ourselves with that in that pre-production area, and just try a number of different things and just try to make it better, and the hard work pays off.
Yeah, definitely liking it for sure. Definitely. And we know nowadays, mixing, recording, everything is so changed from how it was. It used to be in the 80s. You know what I mean? You would be going into the studio, booking studio time, maybe even doing some writing in the studio. Maybe you didn't have all the material. Now it's like, sending tracks, sending files, you know, what do you think is better, is a better fit for you guys? And do you miss any of the earlier versions of doing this in the studio and having everybody together? I don't know if you're still able to do that.
There are pluses and minuses to both, but I think doing it the way we're doing it now, as far as on the creative side, it's really good because in the bad old days, we'd all get together and get in the same room and we'd have rehearsed the song and learned the song and play. And then it'd be like, well, Mark made a mistake on the guitar, so either let's fix that or we'll redo the track altogether. And the drums were the one thing that was kind of sacrosanct. You'd play it to get a take. And it might not be the greatest thing ever, but it was done all the way through. You couldn't fix anything. Now you can. So the way Mike does it, he'll build up a click track that breathes. It's not just bump, 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 bump. It starts maybe fast, maybe backs off a little for the verse, pumps up a little for the pre-chorus, really pushes on the chorus, comes back. You're talking 25, 30. How many makes sense? Because if you listen to a real live performance, that's what happens. The music breathes. It pumps faster and slower. When it comes to an exciting part like the solo, everyone leans forward and it'll change that. So he'll do that. We'll send him like a straight guitar track basically, and he'll play along with that and say, well, I got this idea for a crazy fill. What do you think? We'll go, that's too much. Don't do that. Do something simpler, or vice versa. That's too boring. Do something crazy. And he'll build up his parts like a guitar player or a vocalist would build up theirs. And you get that together with a rough guitar track and what's essentially a finished drum track. But we have the ability down the line to say, if we still wanted to change this, could you change that? Yeah. And so it's very fluid, and it still gives us that 25-30% flexibility as far as improvisation or spur of the moment. Try this, try that. So that's having the ability to do that and not be locked with any of it until you're really happy with it. It's a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have to, back in the day, you would have to actually cut tape to change things back in the day, right? And now there's so many tools, things you guys can change. And I know a lot of folks like the click tracks, like you were saying, that definitely seems to be the way to go.
It can be, you don't want to be a slave to that. That's why, being able to make that a bit more fluid helps enormously. Because back in the day, the only time we used the click track, half of the song sounded like we were asleep. It didn't work, You need to have that dynamic, the push and pull between generally the guitar and the drums. One of them is going to be pushing, one of them is going to be leaning back a little, And of course, in the case with Mark and Mike, both of them are pushing the tempo. So
yeah,
that makes it crazy.
Yeah,
but we love the creative flexibility of doing it like this. And when initially Mike said, no, I do the drums in my own studio, and I'm like, to a click track. He goes, yeah, but send me a guitar track for a song and I'll show you what I can do. And when I got it back, I was amazed. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Keep doing it.
Keep doing it, right? Exactly. It's definitely sounding great. So let's talk a little bit about some Raven history here. So you guys formed in 73, and you're noted for
74.
74. I'm sorry.
Don't make us older than we are.
I'm sorry. Let's correct that. The information I had was incorrect. So, but you guys are noted for headlining with Metallica and Anthrax, kind of bringing these guys out, two of the big heavy hitters who would actually, come about during the day and make their bones for sure, especially Metallica, right?
Yeah, that was. We had the opportunity to do a headline tour in the States in '83, and we needed an opener. And Johnny Z says, "I've got this, in his words, the biggest band in San Francisco," which we knew had to be a lie because there's too many big bands from San Francisco. We're like, who? And he goes, Metallica. We're like, never heard of them. So he sent us the cassette, and I was checking to see if it was on the wrong speed,
Right, because that was the beginning of the speed metal thing for sure. Yeah.
It sounded like Motorhead on a record player on, 45 instead of 33,
Right.
Anyway, this sounds great. These are the guys for us. And, we got together, hit it off, and took them out on the road. They were young, they were green, but they learned fast, and they learned a lot from us and a lot from a number of other bands, for sure.
Yeah, you guys have toured with a lot of legendary acts. I was reading here Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz, Motorhead, Whitesnake, Maiden. Do you recall any of these tours or any highlights or anything that kind of stands out in that history of that time?
We played with Iron Maiden. I think it was probably the first time we played in London. And during the sound check, Dennis, Clive, and Dave got up and started playing Eagles songs. So we thought that was a bit strange.
Right.
Complete with the harmonies. So, yeah, that was a bit off. Remember when we were given 2 days' notice to play with Whitesnake because Gary Moore cancelled his whole tour. He had the band that did the G-Force album, and he wasn't going to tour it. So our introduction to the crowd from one of the roadies was, "Hi, sorry, Gary Moore can't be here tonight. Here's Raven."
Oh, jeez.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. That had to be a hard couple of shows, right?
So, but we'd been, even at that age, we were used to being thrown in at the deep end and playing for punk audiences and, audiences that aggressively wanted nothing to do with us, and we won them over. And that's been our stock in trade ever since,
Definitely. Any memories of the Blizzard of Oz shows or anything with Ozzy and Randy back in the day? I mean, that was when they were just starting to head up the charts, right? When that hit, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I saw a show in Newcastle from them about 3 months earlier. It was unbelievable, fantastic. So when we got the offer, it was like, wow. And the first gig was again in Newcastle at a different venue, and Budgie were on the bill, who were heroes of ours too. But we went out and went crazy. Guitars were flying around into Budgie's drum kit, which they weren't too happy about, I guess. I think we burned out a monitor by throwing water around, and Ozzy just loved it. Just, keep going. But the crew were another kettle of fish. The crew actively hated us and wanted to kill us over the next 4 days. So,
Why did that come about?
One of our crew was told, "Here's your lighting. It's these 3 faders. If you touch anything else, we pull the power on you and you're gone."
Wow. So it was very, very strict on how much time you had, I'm sure, on stage and everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'd learned that early on. You do what you're given, and you don't be unprofessional and greedy and stupid. You finish and get the hell out of there, and that gets respect,
Yep. So let's fast forward here a little bit. So in 2013, a retrospective DVD was released entitled "Rockin' Till You Drop: A Long Day's Journey," featuring a lot of never before seen footage from the band in '82. That was amazing.
Yeah, my brother actually put that together, and it was a major undertaking, and nearly drove him to the madhouse. I think he had eyes like road maps after 5 months of editing, and it was a lot harder back then. I think there's a lot of tools now that are going to be an awful lot more useful. He had the varying different formats, such as VHS, Betamax, YouTube, whatever, and varying quality. So you got stuff that literally looks like it was squeezed out of a dog's bottom, like garbage, and then really good. And you had to try and make the bad look good and the good degraded slightly, so there was a consistency.
Right.
That alone drove him crazy. And he did a good job on it. Funnily enough, we're in talks right now to do a new documentary on the band. And there's an awful lot more footage, and there's an awful lot more technical advances that's going to help with this amazingly. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, 100%. It's so much easier nowadays, to edit video and to fix things like that digitally, for sure. And a lot of bands are coming out with new documentaries. Case in point, the new Iron Maiden one that's out currently right now, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So another thing,
go ahead. We were talking with the producer, and it's a good story. That's what it all falls down to. It's the characters and the story, and everything else is gravy after that.
Yep. So let's check out some other history here. So in January 2014, the band was featured on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise from Miami to Mexico, and you guys played in South America. Then in March, Metallica invited you guys to open for them at a football stadium in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Sao Paulo, yeah.
Yeah, in front of 70,000 fans. So it was kind of like a payback. It kind of sounds like finally turned around there.
Well, we'd had dates booked, and I was talking to our promoter, who's just said, "Are you still in touch with Lars?" And Lars had done very nicely some great footage for that very DVD. And I said, "Yeah, I can get in touch with him. Why?" And he says, "Well, they're playing stadiums, and they're going to be playing Sao Paulo. Why don't you ask if we can open up for them?" So, "Dear Lars, can we open up for you in Sao Paulo?" And the message comes back, "Yes, absolutely." So it was pretty amazing. They were based in Buenos Aires, and they were flying to all these different countries, and the weather was bad. They were late, and we only had a short set. I think they were giving us about 35 minutes. And they said, "Well, we don't want you to go on now because they're late. We're going to wait." And I said, "We could play a little longer."
Right.
Like, really? Yeah. Well, I'll let you know. So we got the word they were in. And what was amazing was they didn't play any music at all to the 70,000 crazy people that were in the arena. They showed a 45-second advert for the DVD thing. Was it Through the Never? Every hour. That was it. No music. So when the lights came down, the place went insane. Just insane. Loudest noise I've ever heard. And we went on. We did great, and the time was coming up, and I look, and I get the nod. You can play another song. So, being greedy, we played Break the Chain with all the jamming and all the extra stuff, which was like nearly 15 minutes. And we could get away with it because James is on stage with his phone filming us, giving us the thumbs up. So
nice. Very, very cool.
And we got to hang with them for about half an hour afterwards before they went on, and it was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, nothing but good stuff I've heard about Source with Metallica pretty much. So let's kick it up to 2022. You guys announced you'd signed to Silver Lining Music, and that's when you guys did the 15th studio album, All Hell's Breaking Loose. You did that in 23. And then you also played the Milwaukee Metal Festival in May of that year as well.
That was great. We got asked by Jamie Chester of Hatebreed, who's basically running that festival. At least he was then. How do I get Raven on this? It's like, we're there, man. We're there. And it was great because to a large degree, we were the sore thumb. We were the metal band, and everyone else was, hardcore or black metal, death metal, what have you. So we were I guess maybe like a welcome breath of fresh air for an hour, whatever. And we went down great. It was awesome.
Yeah. I always like to ask bands that are especially located in different countries. It's such a different music scene, like from the US to the UK, to England, to other countries, and metal seems to be thriving there as it was always, back in UK and England.
It was always, to a large degree, it was always underground. So that's always stayed that way. And, in England and in the US, it was elevated for a short period of time. Very short in England, but, a few years in America until, literally someone clicked the button and went next.
Yeah.
That was over,
Yep. Yeah. And then we got grunge metal we had to deal with for a while. But
yeah.
Yep. That definitely.
Which, with hindsight, was probably a good thing. We didn't need bands getting more glam and more,
That's what a lot of artists I've spoken
punchy,
to.
I guess you would say.
Yeah, that's what a lot of artists I've spoken to have said when we would bring that topic up, and they're kind of it might have been time to reset that. People were starting to look the same, sound the same. It seems like it was time for a change to happen. So,
and I'll be honest, a lot of the music that came out of the grunge thing, I loved. I loved Nirvana. I loved Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. The initial bands that came out, because in a sense it was very like the new wave of British heavy metal. There was a bunch of people that the music business wanted nothing to do with, and they were doing it for the love of the music alone. And they all had unique approaches to what they were doing. Just like back in the day, Raven, Iron Maiden, Samson, Angel Witch, whoever, they were all different, They just had passion for music. That was it.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. All right. So that kind of brings us up to date. So what does the upcoming tour schedule look like for you guys? I see you got a lot of dates going down on the website at this point.
Yeah, we literally just finished 40 dates here in the States on Sunday in Florida. So we get the week off, and then next week we fly to Europe, and we've got 3 weeks where we're playing the Netherlands, Germany. We have a festival in Belgium. We have a string of dates in Spain, in Greece, and then for the first time we're playing Sofia in Bulgaria, which will be fun. So that'll keep us busy, and then, like I say, we'll be looking at working on the album. There's another run in Europe in September, and possibly something in the UK for November. We're working on that too.
Excellent.
And then following all that, it's all about the new record and getting that out and touring behind that. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So all you folks out there, you can check out all the dates at ravenlunatics.com. And the new album, or EP, I should say, Can't Take Away the Fire, is streaming now. All right. All right. Well, that wraps up this episode of Talking About Rock. Thank you to my guest today, John Gallagher from Raven, and to our listeners. We hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. John, again, thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Cheers.